As an example, on page 1, line 22, special restricted disabled driver permit is being deleted. Since that provision was placed in law, there have been no such permits issued, which would make one think that they weren't needed.
What? Next section will come back.
Yeah, correct.
It looks in going through the bill, many of the deletions certainly just make sense and don't really do anything major. Are there any questions? Any discussion?
I have one quick comment,
Okay.
so you know. This bill requires conflict amendments, and in fact conflicts with some other bills that you have not taken action on yet, but that's of concern for those other bills. However, this bill needs conflict amendments to Senate Bill 100, so if you can include that in a motion.
Okay, so there's a lot of conflicts. All right, so I actually started this audio in the middle because the beginning started in the middle. And then when you go to the front of the audio, it starts off like it literally starts off right in the middle of a bill that they're working on. So I don't know what the bill is at the moment. But you just jump right into it.
The Representative Harper, the definition, there are two definitions of destroyed. Sub A, and I didn't.
So they're talking about the definitions, two definitions of destroyed. They're talking about having to hand over the title if your car is totaled or something like that. And I don't think Harper likes it. You should listen to it. I recommend everybody listen to all of this themselves, so they're not just don't take my word for it. Listen to it yourself. I'm jumping to something I was listening to earlier. This is Senate Bill 118, 1985. And we're going to get into this one right now.
Okay, let's move on to 118, which Claudia tells me is an easy one.
Easy.
I suppose it's on how you look at it. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 118, one of the shorter bills. It changes the definition of driver license. And I will read quickly from the bill. The term driver license may be used interchangeably with license, and either term may be used in any or all of the following ways. It may refer to the document, which is that which you carry in your wallet, or it may refer to the general driving privileges granted by this state. Question that has been asked before, and I'll answer it ahead of time, is why is this needed? It looks very minor. The state of Oregon defends a lot of rather interesting court cases.
The state of Oregon defends a lot of rather interesting court cases
that often center around what a driver license is. The Attorney General
that often center around what a driver's license is. The Attorney General's
office wanted it set down in law as clearly as possible. It saves them some time and some energy.
Wants it set down in law as clear as possible, okay?
And litigation. That is really the only reason for the bill. And
the only
as I
reason.
said, it was supported by the AG's office, and it's to clear up some ambiguity about what the term driver license really means.
What the term driver's license really means.
You may want to file this bill in your memory.
In your memory?
Another bill that you will be hearing that I am not staffing that has to do with driver licensing. And these particular provisions will have to be handled in that bill as well, so you may hear about it again in a slightly different context. But that's what Senate Bill 118 does.
Is this a lawyer's bill?
This guy, he just chimes in. Is this a lawyer's bill? Listen.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Representative Hubbard moves that we send Senate Bill 118 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Is there any discussion?
Any discussion?
Any objection?
Any objections?
Motion carries.
Motion
Representative
carries.
Hayden, would you carry this one?
Okay.
Hayden, Representative Hayden, will you carry this one? I think his name's Hayden. Will you carry this one? Okay.
Got it.
Good man, Hayden.
Somebody says in the background, good man, Hayden.
Okay.
I would have carried the previous one, Madam Chair.
I think he says I'd rather have the previous one, Madam Chair. So funny.
Good old kamikaze.
Good old kamikaze. A kamikaze. All right. A good old a sacrifice. What is he sacrificing? What's the kamikaze? What's funny? Is this a lawyer's bill? What's funny? They didn't even talk about it. So, what came from? Anyways, I was looking up kamikaze. Several suicide attacks. You should look it up. What came from Senate Bill 118? This bill, by the way, was written by Jack Solis from the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General's office is the one that wants this. They want it cleared up. So what came from this bill is ORS 801.245, driver's license. I'm gonna read it to you. Driver's license or license may have any or all of the meaning I just messed up. I moved my picture. May have any or all of the meanings provided for the terms under this section, as required or appropriate under the section referring to the term. The term driver's license may be used interchangeably with license, and either term may be used in any or all of the following ways. Number 1, it may refer to the document issued by this state or any other jurisdiction as evidence of a grant of driving privileges. Number 2, it may refer to general driving privileges granted by this state or another jurisdiction. That's not a definition. That's not what is really a driver's license. The only thing important is where it says the term driver's license may be used interchangeably with license, and either term may be, driver's license or license may have any or all of the meanings provided. All right. So, excuse me. So we go to the definition of license in the state of Oregon. This is ORS 183.310, subsection 5. This is what a license is. Subsection 5, license includes the whole or part of any agency, permit, certificate, approval, registration, or similar form of permission required by law to pursue any commercial activity, trade, occupation, or profession. That is what a license is. That is what a driver's license is. Required by law to pursue any commercial activity, trade, occupation, or profession. when you get in your car and you go down the road, is that what you're doing? Are you pursuing any commercial activity, any trade, any occupation, any profession? They knew what they were doing. They did this. They did this. They knew what they were doing. So Senate Bill 118, you get ORS 801.245. That's supposed to be the definition for driver's license. And the only thing that comes out of there is that driver's license and license can be used interchangeably. So then you go to license, and there in this is ORS 183.310 subsection 5. You have the definition of license, which is interchangeably, can be used interchangeably with driver's license. It's for commercial purposes. I dare anybody to find me another definition in Oregon of license. Find another one. Look this up yourself. Don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. That's Senate Bill 118. And at the end they ask if someone will carry a good old kamikaze, good old sacrifice. What is he sacrificing? His name going on this? And the fact that is this a lawyer's bill? And they laugh and they don't discuss anything and they don't object to anything and they just push it through. And something else, Claudia Howell, she's the legislative administrator for the Transportation Committee, right? And she's reading this bill. And she says, I'm gonna go back to it. She says,
Entered by this state. Question that has been asked before, and I'll answer it ahead of time, is why is this needed? It looks very minor.
looks very minor.
The state of Oregon defends a lot of rather interesting court cases.
The state of Oregon defends a lot of rather interesting court cases, okay?
That often center around what a driver license is.
That often center around what a driver's license is. So what I'm hearing, what I'm getting from this, the state of Oregon isn't defending the cases, they're prosecuting the cases. The Attorney General's office is prosecuting these cases. And the defendants of these cases, I want to know, the defendants of these cases are arguing, what is a driver's license? What is actually a driver's license? So are they saying that this is 1985, are they saying that they changed the law to help them defend their cases? To help them make it more clear? Is that what we're hearing here? That's what I'm hearing. That they changed this to make it more clear to defend these interesting cases. Did they change the law to make it work for them?
The Attorney General's office wanted it set down in law as clearly as possible. It saves them some time.
Set down in law as clearly as possible. Okay, set it down in law. Put the definition that they have for license in where the definition needs to be for driver's license. Make it as clear as possible. The Attorney General's office wanted this. Make it as clear as possible. When they came out with 801.245, it's not clear. That's not clear. That's not a definition.
Time and some energy and litigation. That is really the only reason for the bill. And as I said, it was supported by the AG's offices, and it's to clear up some ambiguity about what the term driver license really means.
To clear up ambiguity of what the term driver's license really means. That's not in this. They didn't do that with this. The only thing that came out of this was that the term driver's license can be used interchangeably with license. That's what matters.
You may want to file this bill in your
Anyways, you got the kamikaze, and we move on.
Senate Bill 120.
Okay, this is Senate Bill 120, and this video is already really long. Let me just hear a little bit of it.
Senate Bill 120 is another relatively simple bill in concept. Under present law, fixed load vehicles are registered annually. A Motor Vehicles Division employee, under their employee suggestion program, recommended that there would be a small cost savings to the division if fixed load vehicles were registered biennially, as all, I shouldn't say all, but most other vehicles are registered. Senate Bill 120A deletes the annual registration provision for fixed load vehicles. There was no opposition testimony on this bill to the subcommittee or to the Senate committee.
I move Senate Bill 120 to the floor of the due pass.
Representative Brigiotti. Wait,
You mean you don't want me to ask my questions? I want to find out what tell me exactly what you mean by fixed load. I think I know what it is, but I want to make sure. Somebody out there tell me what you mean by it.
Joanne.
I will give you that privilege.
Huh?
I'll give you that privilege.
Madam Chair, Representative Roberts, Joanne Peterson, DNB. Fixed load vehicles are vehicles which are neither designed nor primarily used to transport persons or property. Examples include backhoes, road graders.
I don't really care about this subject either, except that they say something really interesting in this that might explain what caused this problem, maybe.
Air compressors. They're more equipment in nature as opposed to really being vehicles.
So they don't carry anything but themselves. Thank you very much.
Okay, Representative Brigiotti moves that we send Ingress Senate Bill 120 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Is there any discussion? Any objection?
No, I'll carry it.
Representative Brigiotti will carry this one.
Nancy Connick is that.
No, but she keeps leaving.
I know. She does it on purpose. She was on the committee.
She'll get some. More to go. Senate Bill 122.
Oh, it's
Madam Chair,
122.
members of the committee, Senate Bill 122 is another bill relating to registration. Historically, farm vehicles have been registered on a quarterly basis
it's
if the
here.
owner desired. During the revision process, it was discovered that the division had no statutory authority to issue such registration, so they have ceased doing that. Quarterly registrations are a convenience to farmers, since not all farmers use their vehicles on the highways all year round.
They're talking about quarterly registrations.
Farmers would like to continue to be issued quarterly registrations. Senate Bill 122 gives the Motor Vehicles Division the authority to issue quarterly registrations for farm vehicles.
Any questions?
You mean they've been doing this illegally for a long time? She could be back there.
They keep talking about that. You mean they've been doing this illegally for a long time? Yes. 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 You can hear someone in the background. You can't. I don't know who it is.
Are not used year-round.
Issuing them quarterly?
Yeah.
Joanne, can you answer that one? How did the
Listen.
division start issuing these licenses quarterly
Madam Chair,
for registration?
This is why I think. I don't know. I think this is why we're going through what we're going through, where everybody believes that they have to have a license, insurance, registration, all this stuff, titles. I think this right here, I think is why, but I think that it's continued on purpose. But this is why I think, I don't know.
How did the division start issuing these licenses quarterly?
Madam Chair.
Registrations.
We really don't know because it goes back as far as anybody around the division can remember. There are
They don't know because it goes as far back as everybody at the division can remember. In other words, they started it sooner, and then, you know, those people left, and now you've got new people. And so because they've been doing it, all the new people just continue to do it.
specific provisions for the registrations of trucks and trailers, which these vehicles are, on a quarterly basis. And perhaps, you know, somewhere along the line when the farm provisions came in, it was just assumed that these vehicles could continue to be
It was
registered
assumed.
on a quarterly basis. We don't.
But it's illegal.
We don't really know.
Okay.
The answer is because we've always done that.
Somebody's speaking for her. The answer is because
And
we've always
Representative
done
Bichetti.
it.
I move Senate Bill 122, the floor of the due pass recommendation.
Representative Brajati moves Senate Bill 122 to the floor with a due pass recommendation. Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Well, just a comment.
Representative Carter.
I know that we've been able to quarterly register farm vehicles since 1950.
1950.
That far. And I can't speak to it beyond that. But
I can't.
For the last 35 years, I can attest.
These are just comments. He said, this guy is saying he remembers it going back to the last 35 years. Someone else is gonna chime in and say he can remember.
That's what's been done.
In fact, when I first did this, I could only afford a quarter of a year. And that was in the early 40s.
Early 40s.
Is there any further discussion?
I mean, wouldn't that be, what was it like for, you know, the people at that time when they started enforcing this, when they started enforcing it to the general public? I mean, it makes sense for commercial purposes. It doesn't make sense to the general public. So how'd they get the general public to do this? What was it like for the first guy to get the first ticket and walk into court? And, you know, I don't know. Can you imagine what was it like for someone from the general public to get a traffic citation? What did it look like when he walked into court? You know, maybe he knew the judge and was, hey, what are you doing? You know, was it a shocker? Did they know? There's no evidence that the general public was asking for this.
Any objection? So ordered. Representative Banzer, would you carry this one?
That's a good
one for you.
I'll go back
Portlander.
I'll even support you.
And Representative Harper will support you on the floor. Okay.
That'll be a no.
There's a pause here for Senate Bill 124.
You got any trouble?
Senate Bill 124.
Excuse me, may I consult Representative Brajati
And Harper.
and Harper?
Senate Bill 124. All this audio is for Senate Bill 124.
One standing up and the other.
Senate Bill 124, A engrossed. It's a bill that the subcommittee spent quite a bit of time on. Current law requires that all the vehicles that must be
Listen to what they're saying. They're saying this is a bill that the subcommittee spent quite a lot of time on. And this is the optional title and optional registration. That's what came out of this.
registered must also be titled. However, the law does not allow the Motor Vehicles Division to title and register vehicles that are not required to be titled and registered. Some people would like to title and register unregistered vehicles for their own protection and convenience.
I have no evidence of the people that would like to title and would like to register their cars. I have not seen any evidence of the general public asking for this.
An example, and I'll use one that Joanne Peterson has used several times, is a light trailer. A light trailer under 8,000 pounds is not required by law to be titled and registered. Some people choose to title and register them because other states require that they be titled and registered. It saves them some hassle if they have to go into another state. There are other examples, but this is what's been called the optional title bill. Senate Bill 124A gives DMV the authority to issue titles and registrations, and I might add, allows them to, by rule, provide for the issuance of titles.
By rule, allows for the issuance of titles. They didn't make the rule. They did 20 years later. They made a rule 20 years later. They did not make a rule for the registration one, for optional registration. They only made a rule 20 years later for optional title, and then they repealed it. Why? So now right now, we're back to 1985, where the DMV is admitting that they're not authorized by law. It's illegal for them to sell titles and registration.
That are not subject to vehicle titling and registration requirements.
Okay, not subject to. Okay, so you need to know. There is not subject to, and then there are vehicles that are exempt. There are vehicles that are just not subject to, and then there are vehicles that are exempt. In other words, they might be subject to but have exemptions, like fire trucks.
The bill in no way requires titling or registration for vehicles that are not required to be registered and titled in the law. The banking industry was concerned with the bill since permissive titling would allow vehicles to be titled without showing a security interest while the vehicle was under a chattel lien filed with the Uniform Commercial Code Office. It's part of the Secretary of State's office. The subcommittee determined that the problem would exist with certain vehicles with or without SB 124A, and SB 124A would in fact give DMV rulemaking authority, which would provide an opportunity to solve the potential problem presented by the banking industry.
They were going to give the DMV rulemaking authority that would allow them to solve the problem. I'm sorry, I'm just going to take it back just a smidge.
Banking authority, which would provide an opportunity to solve the potential problem presented by the banking industry. There was someone here from the banking industry earlier, and he seems to have left. I will elaborate if the committee would like me to.
Madam Chair,
Representative Banzer.
about a week ago, we had a bill, I think deals with titling of farm equipment. Is that right? Implements of husband?
You gotta hear this. You gotta hear this.
Country? Correct? And we had a long, elaborate discussion about the problems incurred with that. And I'm wondering if it wouldn't be appropriate to take this bill and that bill and discuss them together, because they're dealing with the same, essentially the same issue. This is more generic, and that deals with a specific.
I'm trying to remember, Representative Banzer, what did we do with, we had the hearing on that one,
We didn't do anything with it.
and that one was mandatory titling of implementation.
Right, and it deals with I think that was at the request of Jenny Jones, was it? Requesting that new equipment be titled, and then we was concerned about what do you do with used equipment. Anyway, just for clarity's sake, that is extremely germane to this, and I just make a suggestion. It gets into, opens a whole new issue of titling, and I think the ramifications have a tremendous rippling effect. My recollection of this specific bill was that it's codifying what they're already doing.
It's codifying what they're already doing. This Senate Bill 124 is codifying what they're already doing. What are they doing? They're illegally selling titles and registration that they're not authorized to sell to the general public for vehicles that are not required, not subject to title and registration.
If they're doing it, then they're asking us to sanction their prior practices.
They're admitting to this. They know. I'm going to take it back. Just listen to this.
Anyway, just for clarity's sake, that is extremely germane to this, and I just make a suggestion. It gets into it. Well, opens a whole new issue. Titling and I think the ramifications have a tremendous rippling effect. My recollection of
the ramifications have what did she say? I think the ramifications have a what effect?
I think the ramifications have a tremendous rippling effect.
A tremendous rippling effect. The ramifications have a. I'm not against drivers. It's okay to be a driver. However, not everybody out on the road is a driver. And people just are not getting it. They don't get it. It is an occupation. It is a job. It is something you do on the roads, which the roads are the people's, as a matter of right. Okay? I'm not against drivers. But what I'm against is the lies and the deceit and the confusion on purpose to confuse everyone to get them to obey.
My recollection of this specific bill was that it's codifying what they're already doing. That in fact they're doing it when they're asking us to sanction their prior practices.
Sanction their
Which is, I mean, there may be some legitimacy for that, but I do think that this, in conjunction with that other bill, is of a significant new public policy that ought to be looked at in context and discussed.
In fact, Representative Banzer, I remember at that hearing you suggested that the whole issue might be an interim committee study.
A study.
I guess maybe I don't see the bills conflicting because this is permissive and it would allow them to do it while that's mandatory. Quite frankly, I'm not even sure that we have that other bill scheduled for work session. And so I guess maybe I personally would like to go ahead with this bill and because it is permissive and it doesn't screw up anything, but certainly that is open to discussion with the committee.
And Madam Chair, I'm not arguing against that. I'm only raising the attention that we did have another one.
No, I know that. I know. Is there any discussion? Any motions? Anything?
I have a question.
Representative Harper.
This is substantially rewritten from the first bill that we worked on in